All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praise, glory, and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect. Shalom Barakatham. And I'm going to speak a little bit, quick lesson on the maps. Now, this is going back to some brothers know, but about the world maps and how many things have been changed. And we're going to find out, ultimately in the kingdom, just how many things have been changed. Not just the maps, the landmarks, the names of people, okay, the particular history, which I myself got to get better about getting the understanding of, who they call the Vikings and who they call these Europeans, and those various lineages where he went back and basically covered a whole lot of things, man. Okay, and really, the most damage he did was muddying the waters. Okay, and these small hats are notorious for doing that because they change their names, okay, and they appropriate cultures and take on customs. They steal art and various artifacts, okay, and it's a big game of three-card money of who's who, okay. And when you go to look it up yourself, I mean, but what they tell you is that they, the story is straight just like how they told you, but that ain't really the case. So in the case of these maps, okay, you can see how Esau is done exactly what the scriptures say. We'll play this 2-minute video and you'll see what he's done, over the course of, centuries since he's gotten back in power, okay? Yeah, you see how that look? See Greenland, that's a big one, okay? That's a big one, okay? They made Greenland because who is most likely inhabiting Greenland, okay? All right, those Edomites, man. Those them Scandinavians, them Nordic, Norwegian to Sweden to Finland to Iceland, that whole area, that's who inhabits it, and they put it basically the size of Africa. But what size is it really? Look, it's only the size of Algeria. That's crazy. Okay. When I read in the article, Africa is 14 times the size of Greenland, man. Okay. You see? But on the map, they show you these things and this warps your perception. Okay. This is why the other nations, they all speak English. They all wear ties at the UN. Okay. A suit and tie at the UN. All right. They all pay homage to this guy. They all look at the white or lighter, fair skin as superior. Even over there in Moab, the lighter skinned Moabites are treated better than the darker skinned ones, okay? Okay, you got the ones that speak Mandarin that are considered more northern and more the classical Moabites, and you got the one that speaks Cantonese in the more southern regions of China, okay? Same thing in India, lighter skin is treated better. Where did that come from? Okay, by his image. Okay, and the scriptures speak about the image. I was gonna get this real quick. Let me do this real quick. All right, because this is why he has such a strong grip on the minds of the people. Okay. Revelation 13 and 14, it says, and he deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Okay, now we know that's talking about his military and really his technology, because a lot of his technology may not necessarily be military, but it's just as deadly of a weapon like social media. Okay, that's basically a CIA operation. Okay, but it don't look like it's a part of the military on paper. It's not, but it's being weaponized. Okay, and he convinces the nations of these various things. Okay, to give him this air of superiority. To just trust me, bro. That's why he can print trillions and trillions of dollars and just issue out all of these U.S. Treasury bonds, and nobody flinches for years. Okay, but those days are about to be up. He's about to get exposed. Okay, it says, to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. Okay, so this is they made the image. Okay, That's what this is. And maps and geography are a part of that. Okay, they know you're not gonna hop in a plane and hire a cartographer and start, mapping out miles and nautical miles and and figure it out. And ultimately, you tell people this, they don't care because they're zombies. Okay, there's not a single thing that outrages these peon-headed people, man. Look, Alaska. Look, they said Alaska was huge. Look that's the side they're saying Alaska is basically on par with Brazil. Okay, but that's the real size of it. Okay, it's only 20% of actual Brazil, man. Okay, you see how they lied? you know. Salakia. Click the brother video. Let me do this. Actually. Yeah, you see how they stretched it out? Right. So they made the northern hemisphere seem bigger than the southern hemisphere, okay? And you can tell because they basically at the bottom, they squeezed out Antarctica, okay, entirely. You can barely see snippets of it at the bottom, okay? But all of the Arctic Circle is expanded up top, okay? And it gives this appearance that the northern hemisphere is greater than the southern hemisphere, okay? And the scripture said what? This nigga would be in the land of the north, okay? That's what the scriptures are going into. It's really this whole Edomite hegemony, okay? Yeah, that's going to Jeremiah, where it said then said the Lord unto me, out of the north, and evil shall break forth upon all inhabitants of the land. Okay, and that really was in the Babylonian times. Okay, but when you go into let me see. Yeah, Jeremiah 3:18, and it says, in those days the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel. Okay, what days are those? And it says, and they shall come together out of the land of the north. Now, by the time Jeremiah wrote this, the northern kingdom were already, out of there, deported. They came out with the Assyrians. Okay, the Assyrians basically had them, basically deported in what they call Samaria and in northern parts, and then they eventually got, deported all over the planet, and a lot of them in the Americas. Okay, the majority of them in the Americas. Okay, in the Western Hemisphere. Okay. So what is it talking about? They're going to come together. And it says, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I have given for an inheritance unto your fathers. Okay. So the land of the north, that's where we are. That's where we're being oppressed, man. Okay. And this nigga changed all of these things, man. And it says, but Jeremiah 16:15, the Lord Yahweh liveth, but the Lord Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of the north. And that's speaking about when we're not going to be talking about when the Lord, got us up out of Egypt anymore, but we're going to talk about our deliverance from the land of the north. What's the north? Huh? You see? And see how he exaggerates his kingdom? All right? And you notice all of the infighting that they got issues with. They don't really have too many beefs with South America or Australia. They're beefing with them Russians, man. Okay? Because that's what they see as the most valuable land. Okay? That and the Really, it's control of the so-called Middle East. It's our land over there, the Levant region. Okay, that's the most precious, but they want it in tandem with ruling the entire northern part. You know, it says uh go down. There's more that mention of that. Okay, brother Quinawa Shalom. You see, all right now, come on, I gotta get my here. All right. Yeah, Zechariah 2 and 6. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord Jehovah, for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heavens. I believe that says, heaven, saith the Lord Jehovah, and deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. Okay, so that's what it's going into, Babylon. Okay, the north. Okay, and this is talking about in the latter times. Okay, so when you look at more of this. Yeah. Right. See, he'll change the weights of the measurements. Okay, you got false weights you're dealing with here, because he'll tell you you're illogical if you can't read a map. He'll talk to you like you stupid. But this nigga done changed. Okay, he didn't change the source code. You know, imagine you have a ruler that's supposed to be 12 inches, and he gave you a ruler that's 11 inches. All right, and then when you don't believe him, when he says it's this 3 feet, you're crazy all of a sudden. He's pointing to the ruler, but he's manipulated the ruler. Okay, that's what he does with this map and changing the things. All right, and I had typed the word landmark in real quick. I'm gonna get it, because the scriptures are straightforward on this, man, and all of this nigga's lies are gonna come out. Okay, it's straightforward. Deuteronomy 19 and 14. Thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they have old have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit, and that the Lord Yahweh thy power giveth thee to possess it. Okay, so landmarks are not to be messed with. That goes into inheritances, man. No more than you can steal an inheritance. You can't just move somebody's landmark. Okay, we had landmarks in the kingdom. Okay, and they were set up by the patriarchs. Okay, Deuteronomy 27 and 17. Cursed be he that removeth his neighbor's landmarks, and all the people shall say Amen. And that's what all empires were. Okay, all the way going back to Nimrod. Okay, the land of Shinar over there in Iraq, that wasn't the land of Cush. Okay, but what was Nimrod over there doing? Okay, taking over all of those cities. Okay, coming up the Euphrates and the Tigris to build a one world government, which was an empire. Okay, Nimrod is the first emperor. Okay, when you think about it, post-Diluvian, okay, emperor, I should say, which means after the flood. All right, no regard for his neighbor's landmarks at all whatsoever. Okay, and you had the same thing back in the lineage of Cain before the flood. Okay, just heaping things up onto himself. That sounds familiar, don't it? All right, it says in Proverbs 22 and 28, it says, remove not the ancient landmarks which thy father have set. Okay, and that's this guy, man. He's looking to change borders and rename things. Okay, it says that in Daniel 7 and 25, what I was looking for. It says, and he says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. Okay, so he doesn't just change the land, he changed the times, he changed everything fundamental to the earth. Okay, he wants to try to change it. The Lord said, no, you know, this is a natural mountain, a natural river. He'll come in and blow it up, or he'll dig a canal. All right. The Lord tells you that the sun and the moon gives you the timing of the earth. He'll say, no, we got a solar calendar now, and we're gonna follow this. You know, that's who you're dealing with, just an open, rebellious spirit in the earth. Okay. And rebellion goes into war. Okay, that's what Bel means. Means war. Okay, antebellum means before the war. Bellicose means warlike. Okay, so rebel means to go back to war, and that's how that's gonna end. Okay, you want to smoke with Yahweh Bashim Yahweh, you gonna get it. Okay, and all of the things that he's jacked up in the earth, they're gonna be corrected. Okay, it's gonna be painstakingly corrected by you heathen that bent the knee to this wicked demon. Okay, because Esau is gonna be a no people in the kingdom. Okay, that nigga might get a few Flintstone vitamins on the plantation and get his ass back to work. Okay, he ain't gonna have rights. You're not gonna have any bodily autonomy. You're not gonna have nothing, man. Okay. It says, and think to change times and laws. Okay, he changed the laws. Okay, there should be a common sense that you don't just go in and take in people's land that don't belong to you. But does he care? He like, well, no, doctrine of discovery, Monroe Doctrine, and he makes things up. You know, it says, the land should be given into his hand until a time and times in the dividing of times. And in Habakkuk, last one I'll get, it speaks about this guy, man. Okay. A hasty nation, verse 6. Habakkuk 1 and 6. For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation. Now, Chaldeans were an ancient order or priesthood of the, they go back a long, they go through many kingdoms. Okay. They were under the Assyrians. They were under the Babylonians, the Neo-Babylonians. Okay. You know, they were like the ancient small hats of those empires back then. Okay, they were always juiced in, and the astrologers and the various things. Okay, it says, which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. And then they changed all of the maps to make it seem like, the land that they got is just so much bigger. This nigga, you'll never know which way is what dealing with this guy. It's just confusion, which is the sign of a terrible leader. Okay. It says, they are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and dignity shall proceed of themselves. Okay. That's this guy. Okay. That's why the lingua franca of the earth is English. Okay. Lingua franca goes into frontal language. Okay. The baseline language. If any nation is going to know a second language of their native tongue, is going to be English. That's why. Okay. I could keep going on that, but I've been going long enough. I'll end it there. You can read the rest of this chapter. Okay. But Lord willing, this is edifying. On to the next. Shalom.